Hi, Gil from Testing Gil here. And today I want to talk about top-level test planning in big scale. Now, there's a whole series of these videos you can watch on the channel. Specifically, we've done one about short sprint. You can watch it here. Also, you can download the template I use from the site. You can see the link down below as well. Okay, big release. Let's say a quarterly release, and it's for a few teams. First, let's remember that the further we are from the release date, any decision that we make now can steer us away from what we actually want to release at the end. That's why we want to make some decisions, but we don't want to set everything in stone. We like to leave a lot of leeway for teams to make decisions by their knowledge and also closer to the release date. Also, the decisions that we are making today, they can change later, and that's okay. Embrace change, right? But we're making the big decisions today. If those change, we need to start a whole communication cycle about what's changed, what's the new stuff, all around the teams and everyone involved. But that's for later. The decisions we take today are guidance. They are guidelines for the teams so they know what are the big constraints, what are the important focus, and then they can make more detailed planning for themselves. In our example today, we're working on our excellent text editor again, and we have a very stable web version, and the release goal for the next one is adding a mobile version. Let's say we've got 3 teams working on that. Now, when they read mobile version, this can say like different things to different people and different teams. It may sound like convert everything that we have on the web version to the mobile version, including testing. But it's a lot more vague than that, so we need to go into details. Now, on one hand, this is not the time for details. We're talking about top-level planning. On the other hand, if we keep it vague like that, everyone will have their own picture in their head about what is really important, and everybody will run off in different directions. We want to keep everyone on the same track and understanding what is really important. So, we need to specify the main workflows, the ones we want to make sure work. In big release scope, that could be a very big list. We want to keep this as realistic as possible. So what we want is to limit the number of main workflows we specify today. I go by maximum 5 workflows per team. Now, remember, we're talking about the main workflows. We're not talking about variations of these workflows or error handling. We're not talking about other workflows that we're going to add as well. We're talking about the ones that are important for us. Without them, there won't be a release. And I know it seems hard to come up with just 15 or 20 main workflows. But again, we're not limiting the work. We're just telling everybody which workflows are the main ones, which are important, we want them in the release tested. There may be others, but they may be tested differently, not as well. These ones we really want to be sure about. The description of these workflows is just enough, so when we move on to further planning, we can work with that. For our example today, let's limit that even further. All of these workflows are new, but for example, open existing documents on Android and iPhone, we didn't specify what type of documents and which documents are more important than others. It's just a general main guideline. Also on our list, we didn't specify existing workflows, other than everything on the web version should continue to work. First of all, it's what's important for the product manager. Also, we have a good automation suite around the web version, and the developers say that we won't touch that code too much. So having this line as a guideline is a good thing to have, and we may try to do something about it, but in terms of importance, this is how the table looks like. Again, it doesn't mean that these are the only workflows that we're going to build and test. But these are the ones the release depends on. And we want everyone to know this. What's next? Constraints. First, the deadline. It's months away, and you probably want to ask about the reasoning behind this deadline. Most of the time, it would be, this is where we release our quarterly releases. It also may be that government laws about our excellent text editor are coming into effect 2 days immediately after the release. So the date is really important. If there's a good reason, write it down. This needs to be communicated. Next, team availability. Now this is really hard to estimate, like almost every estimate that we do. But if there are things that we do know, we probably want to write them down. In our example, we want to keep the existing team structure, but we're probably thinking about adding a few people. Okay, consider this. Regular hiring cycles don't work in this scale. If we're talking about a quarterly release, 3 months, it won't be enough to hire and train enough people to go in there. We have other options there. We can shift responsibilities in the team. We can get reinforcements from other teams, reduce the scope, or drop a workflow or two. Anyway, that's not something we have to decide now, but we will probably have to tackle it soon or by a certain date. That's why we put an owner on this task, to decide or help make plans. Do we need help from other teams? First, we'll probably need a few DevOps things, like new environments and new continuous integration pipelines, and probably some other things we still don't know. We'll find out later. But we're new to the mobile space. Luckily, we heard that there's an infrastructure team that helps with infrastructure for testing mobile applications. We haven't seen it yet, we don't know what it can do, but we're thinking we're probably going to use it. Now, that's an assumption. We're making a lot of assumptions here, which we're going to figure out when we move forward, and that's okay. But we need to move this process along, so as owners, we put the infrastructure teams as owners of this thing, and luckily, we have representatives of their team in our meeting today. Other requirements? Well, yeah, we probably need a couple of devices, like real devices. Tablets, phones. How many, which type, and how much do they cost? We don't know. But it's a biggie, so write it down. Let's assign a team leader for that. Finally, do we need to learn anything new? Of course, the whole application is new, so it's going to be a whole new experience testing on mobile devices. Let's write down the things that we do think we need. We can't write down anything that we don't know yet, but the things that we do, let's write them down. So, these are our constraints. Great, we've got almost everything. Now for the hardest part, the musts. The musts are the release criteria. Again, we're trying to specify things that are important and everyone should know about. That it also includes our acceptance criteria to release. That means that when the teams are starting to plan things, these things should be always on their mind, front and center. We do try to keep a balance of giving the teams enough freedom to specify what they think is important, but also tell them this is what we want. The list should be detailed enough with the things that are supposed to work. Everything else is secondary. It's very hard to do when you don't know everything, and we never do. But it's enough to say at this point, these things are important, they should be tested, and this is what they look when they're working. Put them in your plans. That's it, at least for this meeting. You have a 1-page, 2-page document summarizing everything we talked about, and you can give those to the teams who can develop their own top-level test planning and then detailed planning, move things along. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, go watch other videos on this channel. You can also download the template I mentioned from the links below. And in the comments down below, tell me about your big release planning meeting and how loud they are, and how long, and how you make it through them. Until next time, bye-bye.